Hey everyone, Envijan here. Hey everyone, Envijan here. And I know, and yes, I know it's been over a year since I've uploaded anything. The truth is, college life completely consumed everything that was going on around me. Placements of just not just between going through my own placements and being a part of the placement committee, I had zero motivation, zero time, zero bandwidth to actually sit in front of a camera and hit record. I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, placements are not just So, for anyone who doesn't know, placements are not just a bunch of interviews that you just go and sit for. No. It's endless calls with companies, students panicking at 2 a.m., making sure that three dream companies don't get slotted at the same time, and constantly running around, not just yourself, but with numbers to make sure that the average as well as the number of students getting placed are both on track. So yeah, it was hectic. But now that it's over, let's get started with the video. But now that it's over, let's start talking about one of the most discussed topics across. Are B school placements actually real? Let's talk about something that people don't completely understand. When they say that a college's average placements is 75,000, they think, oh, it's just that a majority of the students would have gotten 75,000. Therefore, if I fall in the top 50 percentile, I will easily get 75,000 or above per month. True, but not exactly. We'll get into that. Does it mean most students get 75,000? Not exactly. Does it mean you will get 75,000 as long as you are average or just above average? Absolutely not. It doesn't necessarily mean you will not get it. We'll get into that. And by the end of this video, you will understand why the numbers hide more than they tell. First, let's get this straight. Most B schools, including mine, had a student-run placement committee. That means students do everything from bringing in companies to negotiating profiles and stipends and managing the entire process end to end. Whereas in other places such as a BTech college, the placements are actually run by a placement officer where the students just take care of the logistics. In an actual B school, the placements are run by students, facilitated by students, and everything to do with it goes with students. So the benefits of that is that students get things done faster because they understand the college a lot better. Things move faster. There's a better understanding of the college culture. You know what to talk about, when to talk about to a recruiter, how to pitch certain students, how to make sure that the average placements of the college overall goes above and beyond what an average and it just helps shaping the season in a much better fashion. The downside to it is that the placement committee in that sense will have full responsibility both towards the positive as well as the negative. Now, if things are going well and good, the placement committee did a great job. But just because things might not be going as planned doesn't necessarily mean that the placement committee is not giving their best. They can do with a lot of admin support in those situations. So a lot of the colleges honestly can benefit from having a placement committee that is being run by the admin, but it will never happen simply because the admin does not necessarily have the kind of connect that is required within the industry, don't necessarily want to put in the effort, therefore the effort goes towards the students. And in all honesty, student run placement committee bodies are just easy scapegoats for, let's say, if the season is not going well, the blame will entirely fall on the placement committee. Does not matter how much effort they are putting in, does not matter how many endless sleepless nights that they are putting in for absolutely no benefit of theirs, but at the end of it, all the blame or credit goes to the placement committee. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Every year, there are posts online about the placement committee being absolutely impartial, horrible, scum, worst of the worst kind of human beings. Power hungry or even sabotaging students. Now here's the truth. Being honest and impartial benefits the placement committee a lot more than it benefits anyone else. Because the entire season works on timing. Early on, the higher paying packages come. Therefore, even if you feel like you might be done wrong by a placement committee member simply because you are not in the best terms with them, it does not necessarily matter, because the placement committee will push your CV all the same as they would do for any other student, because your CV might just get shortlisted and you might just get selected in a good company. The sole aim, the main KPIs for any placement committee for that matter, are simply to increase the average and to make sure that the entire batch gets placed quickly and in the best possible companies for the individual. It doesn't necessarily matter how your relationship is with a placement committee member. So be rest assured, there is nobody more. So be rest assured, by sabotaging your resume, there is nobody who will be at a loss more than a placement committee member. They want you to get placed. There is no way that they're going to push somebody else's CV in front of yours simply because they had a bone to pick with you. Personal feelings do not matter. Placement numbers do. Now that we have gotten that out of the way, let us look at a few interesting numbers. As you would see on your screen, these are the number of students, and then again, these are all fictitious numbers created by me, assuming there's a college that has an average placement of around 75,000 per month. So you would imagine that a majority of the students will get placed around the 75,000 rupee bracket, but that is not true. As you would see here, before the actual placement season starts, there are a few legacy companies that do come in, and they come in all the same for all colleges. They want to have the best premium slots. Therefore, they also pay the highest to actually acquire those slots. As you would see here in this fictitious scenario, you have 14 students who have gotten placed on packages 2 lakhs or above. It could be 2.5, it can be even higher, right? Now, when the actual placement season starts, which is day 0 to day 7, around 49 students had gotten placed, and within this 7-day period, the average placements were around 1.1 lakhs. So any company that will be coming in between this duration will usually have a package of between 1 lakh rupees to 1.5 lakh rupees. Then between day 8 to day 14, there were 45 students who had gotten placed. Again, these are all fictitious numbers. I just want you to know these are not actual numbers. This is just a simple mathematics. This is just simple mathematics that I've done to explain it better to you. And for all colleges, these numbers will differ. I just want to show you how the distribution actually works. So between day 8 to day 14, 45 students had gotten placed at an average stipend of 71,222 per month. Now, as you can see here, all the numbers below this have taken a sharp fall from 71,000 till 45,000. So from day 14 to day 28, which is 2 weeks after the actual season had started, the placement numbers fall sharply, and the average package between this duration is going to be 45,000 rupees, which will fall to 29 students. After that, in the second month, there were a total of 28 students who had gotten placed in this, again, fictitious scenario, whose average placement was 35,000. Between month 3, month 4 and month 5, there were 18, 10 and 6 students who had respectively gotten placed, and their average stipends were between 27,500 to 20,000. So more I talk about it, the more you're understanding this. The average placements of 75,000 does not necessarily mean that a majority of the students had gotten placed around that numbers. A majority of the students had gotten placed maybe a little above or maybe a little below that number, but never exactly that number. What I basically try to mean by that is that the students who had gotten placed early on in the season had gotten considerably higher packages, and the students who had gotten placed towards the end of the season had gotten considerably lower packages. So you will fall in between this category. It does not necessarily mean that if you join a college, you should expect a package of 75,000, as I would show in this slide as well. As you can see, the number of students who had gotten a package of above 200,000 rupees or 2 lakh rupees per month was 10. Only 2 students had gotten a package between 175,000 to 200,000. Whereas if you would see at the lower end of the, as you would see at the lower end of the table, you would see that the students falling between the 20,000 to 50,000 category are actually 80, which means 80 students. Which means 80 students, or close to 40% of a batch of 200, had gotten placed between 20,000 to 50,000. I think that should be an eye-opener for you to understand. Now the thing is, this is not necessarily a demotivating video for any matter. I just wanted to tell you the honest truth about how the actual placements are distributed between the entire college. When you see an average package for any college for that matter, I know it's the same for a BTech college as well. I know it's the same for any other college. I just wanted you to understand that when you are paying an exorbitant amount in loans, you have to also make sure that you are putting your best foot forward to also get placed early on in the season, if this is something that you really do care for, or if this is something that is a make or break for you. So looking at 75,000 as an average is not necessarily the best metric to actually move forward and get selected. Median is actually closer to what you can expect to actually get. But even in that scenario, you need to know that it completely depends on which day of the week, on which day of the season you are actually getting placed. And every passing day, the odds of you getting a company that had paid as much as the company, and every passing day, the odds of you getting, let's say, 1 lakh or 1 lakh plus package for that particular month, 1 lakh or 1 lakh plus package for a particular month keeps decreasing as the season progresses. Again, this is all common sense. These are all things that you already intuitively know. I just wanted to show you how big that gap is. So when you look at the distribution, it's not necessarily like this, where this would be the 75,000. It's not necessarily a normal distribution. It's actually an inverse in that sense. You would look at a range of between 75,000 to 2 lakh, where there is an almost equal distribution at all levels. But as soon as you fall below the average, you would see that there is a mass congregation of students towards the lower end. So if you're going between 50,000 to 75,000, you might not see as many students as you would see between 50,000 to 25,000. That is something that I wanted you to think about, ponder about. It is, again, not in any way trying to dissuade you from joining a B school. That was one of the best decisions that I had made in my life. And likewise, I would also come out with a video where I will talk about the benefits, not just monetary, but otherwise, of you actually joining a B school for that matter. And I will also come out with another video where I will basically talk about, as an insider, as a placement committee member, there are a lot of posts, there are a lot of There are a lot of posts on social media that you see across talking negatively about the placement committee, how they treat students, how it goes about. I'm not saying all of these are false. I'm not saying all of these are true either. So drop your burning questions in the comment section, and I will try to address them in the next video that comes out, which will mostly revolve around a few common misconceptions about how a placement committee functions and why they take certain steps the way that they take them. Till then, take care. I'll see you next week.